Hello, I'm Matt Teal and welcome to the Military Tech Show. I'll be bringing you the latest in defence and security technology that could change the future for the military across the world. Coming up on the show. Best-selling author Mary Roach on the more unusual science helping soldiers at war. We visit the German Aerospace Centre using radar to create groundbreaking images of the Earth. The highly technical engineering work that keeps French jets in the sky. And could this be the answer to clearing minefields? The German scientists taking a radical approach to finding hidden explosives. Now, best-selling American author Mary Roach has explored the science behind some of the more unusual military research for her latest book. Called Grunts, it focuses on the quiet battles against less obvious enemies. We caught up with the writer at the Imperial War Museum in London.
My book is about military science, but it's not weapons and bombs and the things and strategy, the things that most people associate with military science. It's more not the killing, but the keeping alive. So it's about extreme heat and heavy loads and flies and diarrhea and all the things that you have to deal with if you're a soldier. It's just the quiet victories and struggles that don't lend themselves to a feature-length Tom Hanks movie. Stink bomb is a bad smell that is used by the military to clear a room, say clear an insurgent compound or disperse an angry mob. It's not just a bad, disgusting, horrible, intolerable smell, but there is this is the wicked brilliance of the stink bomb that I experienced anyway. It has a fruity floral top note. So, when you encounter a smell, you take a little tentative whiff, so you get this little, oh, that's not bad. So that encourages you to take a deep breath, and then you get hit with the full-on nastiness of the stink bomb. There's a lab I visited in Philadelphia, the Monell Chemical Senses Center, where they are pros in the malodorant community. They came up with this thing called stench soup. And what's unique about stench soup is that it was tested in different cultures all around the world. They tried to find what is the one smell in any culture that everyone agrees is horrible and frightening and awful. Because some of them, say sewage or vomit in some cultures, like something like 3% of Caucasians will go, yeah, I'd wear that as a scent. Or yeah, that's an edible smell. But this one stench soup is no one. No one wants to eat it, wear it, smell it, be anywhere near it. The challenge of noise in the military is you can protect someone's ears by giving them earplugs or an ear cuff, but then they lose their situational awareness. They can't hear somebody coming up behind them. They can't communicate, can't have a conversation with someone on their foot patrol. So they tend not to wear their hearing protection. There's a new system, TCAPS, Tactical Communication and Protection System, and you put this on, it's got a mouthpiece, you put it on and it takes loud noises and makes them quieter, and it amplifies something quiet like a human voice. So now you can have a conversation, even there's noise and loud noises going on around you, that's not going to damage your hearing. And the microphone allows you to communicate with, say, someone in a helicopter overhead, wireless communication. One of the places I went for the book was Aberdeen Proving Ground, and the project was called WIA-MAN, the Warrior Injury Assessment Mannequin. It's essentially a crash test dummy for underbody blast. So you could evaluate an armored personnel carrier, make sure that if a huge bomb goes off right underneath it, the blast coming up from below, is it going to keep people safe inside? The only way to know that, you need a crash test dummy specifically for this scenario. To make a good crash test dummy, you need cadavers. A cadaver is essentially a human body. These are people who've donated their remains to science. And because the military is very sensitive about the use of cadavers for anything kind of destructive, they have to have signed specific consent. So they have to know that this is what I'm going to be used for. Sounds gruesome. Actually, not so much. The cadavers are in a sort of, they've got the seats on a platform, C4 buried, explosives buried below, goes off below. And if you see it, they just kind of, they go like that. They take them off, autopsy them, and they look to see, are bones broken, what's going on. what sort of injuries would you have with these seats and that kind of a blast. So I spent time on the USS Tennessee, which is a ballistic missile submarine. The US Navy is trying to shift away from the watch bill that is based on 6-hour chunks, because that actually creates an 18-hour day, which messes with your circadian rhythm. Even if there's no light coming in on a submarine, there's no cues of daylight, your body still prefers to be on a 24-hour cycle. So they're trying to put the sailors back on that 24-hour cycle, because for a long time there was this thought that because no light's coming in, we can create a day of any length we want. We can make it as a work schedule that will be maximally efficient. So they had them on this kind of brutal schedule of 6-hour watches that created kind of 18-hour day rather than 24. So they're taking it back to something a little more humane. Yeah.
The German Aerospace Centre, or DLR, is Germany's national centre for space, energy and climate research, but their work is also proving helpful for their armed forces. The Military Tech Show was given rare access to their labs outside Munich, where their scientists are using a clever form of satellite radar to create high-resolution images of the Earth, unhindered by darkness or weather.
Almost everything we take for granted is the result of satellites. Television channels, smartphones, GPS. They're also used for surveillance. The German Aerospace Centre, or DLR, is at the forefront of space exploration. It operates the radars of 2 satellites using a radical technology that creates images of very high quality. Their scientists are breaking new ground with a process called SAR, or synthetic aperture radar.
They are very high-resolution satellites capable to image the Earth's surface with a resolution down to 25 centimeters. And this independent on the weather, independent on the daylight illumination. So it's a very unique technique that we have to image the Earth's surface.
The satellite Terra SAR-X was launched in 2007 and uses SAR technology. So what is it? To achieve a high-resolution image, you would need an antenna at least 15 kilometers in length, and that's not really practical in space. So a smaller antenna sends microwave signals towards an illuminated spot on the ground from several different points along the satellite's orbit and captures the returning echoes. In effect, it does the work of a 15-kilometer one. The data is sent back to Earth, where the centre's scientists use it to create a high-resolution image. It helps that microwaves can pass through clouds, fog and precipitation and provide imagery regardless of day or night. Terra SAR-X also works alongside the appropriately named satellite Tandem-X, and together they combine to create 3D images.
Both satellites are flying information with a distance of about 100 to 300 meters, and together they make a big stereo imaging system, and with that we have generated the most accurate global topography of the Earth ever. Today we are able with our mobile phone to know our position using GPS and Galileo with a few meters accuracy, 1-2 meters, and this we need for navigation. But how you can navigate if you don't know the topography? So then on the top of this, of knowing our position with a navigation system, we need to know the Earth's topography with accuracy that is similar to the navigation system accuracy.
To see how extraordinary the results are, take a look at these images of a garden in Munich. These can be achieved during darkness as radar sensors combined with algorithms can illuminate the scene like a flashlight. Armed forces were the first users of SAR, but the technology is now in wider use.
The radar technology in space came from the military area. So back to the end of the 70s, we had the first satellites in space, and this was a technique that was pushed by the military. Today, the applications for environmental, for climate research, and so on are so big that this technique is exploding in the civilian domain. And for this, we have a number of technologies that are now more advanced in the civilian applications than in the military. So that now today, many of the innovations are coming from the civilian world into the military world.
To ensure SAR delivers accurate data, you need to enter the world of blue cones. Now, this is one of the places that's crucial to research being conducted at the German Aerospace Centre. And here at the compact test range, they're really making waves. This might look like something out of James Bond, but it's an echo-free chamber used for measuring and calibrating antenna. Microwaves are beamed off two mirrors onto the antenna. This one is fitted into an aircraft part for airborne radar. The cones are absorbers that prevent stray microwave reflections. There are 50,000 altogether, and it took 13 trucks to deliver them. The results are later analysed using a rotational animation. Scientists at the German Aerospace Centre are developing other uses for SAR, and as we shall see later, their research could help locate and clear landmines.
Well, that's it for now, but coming up in part 2, the engineer who keeps the jets flying on the French carrier Charles de Gaulle, and how microwave radar could help clear minefields. Welcome back to the Military Tech Show. The French aircraft carrier Charles de Gaulle is the largest warship in Western Europe. On board are a squadron of 24 Rafale twin-engine jets on constant operation. And as we found out, their engines take quite a bit of looking after.
Bonjour, vous êtes bienvenue à bord du porte-avions Charles de Gaulle. Nous sommes ici à l'atelier moteur du Charles de Gaulle, plus précisément au bord de ces réacteurs. Donc tous les moteurs qui passent à l'atelier vont donc passer ici pour un essai de bon fonctionnement du moteur. Donc pour n'importe quelle partie qui va être démontée, tout le moteur va être contrôlé, ses paramètres, les fuites, etc. Tout son bon fonctionnement avant de partir. Donc en gros, une fois que le moteur est accroché, on a pour une demi-heure, 3/4 d'heure de point fixe en gros. Donc pour vous expliquer un peu ce moteur, donc c'est le M88, le moteur du Rafale. Donc l'avion est équipé de 2 moteurs. Donc là vous en avez un là, qui est venu chez nous pour une échéance. En fin de compte, c'était pour une échéance de maintenance. Donc le moteur a été réparé. Et donc maintenant on va le tester. Donc en fin de compte, vous avez l'entrée d'air qui est par là, donc tout ce qui est flux d'air qui vient par là, avec les gaz d'échappement qui sortent de l'autre côté. On vient plaquer la buse ici. Donc là, vous avez tout ce qui est carter d'entrée avec un compresseur. Donc c'est un double corps, double flux, donc avec deux compresseurs, 2 turbines. Donc ce moteur est un moteur modulaire, c'est-à-dire que vous pouvez changer un module par un module, que ce soit à l'avant, à l'arrière, une turbine, un compresseur. Donc là, vous avez le carter d'entrée, suivi du compresseur BP. En dessous, là, vous avez à ce niveau-là le compresseur haute tension, HP. Toute cette partie-là, c'est en carbone pour le gain de poids et de robustesse. Donc en dessous, là, vous ne le voyez pas. Donc les compresseurs, les chambres de combustion et les turbines. Une fois que c'est sorti, vous avez ici tout ce qui est post-combustion. C'est un moteur avec la post-combustion. Donc tout le module qui est ici sert à tout ce qui est post-combustion. Et à la fin, vous avez la tuyère d'échappement avec les volets pour tout ce qui est régulation moteur, fait aussi en carbone. À l'arrière, vous avez donc l'éjection des gaz, ce qui se fait à l'arrière. Donc ici, par rapport au bâtiment, on est situé à l'arrière, complètement à l'arrière du bâtiment. Ce moteur a été fait en fin de compte pour être que le maximum d'équipements soit déposé en ligne. Donc sur avion, en fin de compte, une fois que les capots sont enlevés, vous avez à peu près à ce niveau-là. Il y a beaucoup qui est fait en flottier Rafale, soit les calculateurs qui peuvent être démontés, tout ce qui est les blocs hydromécaniques, tout ce qui est régulation tuyère, PC, post-combustion, etc. et carburant. Donc ce moteur-là, en fin de compte, est équipé de 2 calculateurs qui se contrôlent chaque fois l'un et l'autre. Tant que tout va bien, tant que les mêmes valeurs sont par équipement, par actionneur, tant qu'il n'y a pas de biais, on appelle ça, il n'y aura pas de remontée de panne. Si un jour il y a une voie qui ne se voit pas comme l'autre, bah, ça va remonter une panne et le pilote aura la panne. Donc ici, nous, à bord du Charles de Gaulle, vous pouvez faire toute la maintenance comme à terre. On est équipé, on est opérationnel, en mission opérationnelle. On peut faire exactement par tout ce qu'on peut faire comme à terre. Donc le banc d'essai ici, à peu près, là on a pour une fois que le moteur est monté, le point fixe dure à peu près une demi-heure. En une demi-heure, on teste tout. Donc c'est-à-dire que si on vient changer un compresseur ou un carter de PC, tout le moteur va être contrôlé. Pour n'importe quelle partie qui va venir, on va contrôler tout. On a des caméras, on peut zoomer, bien contrôler tout ce qu'il y a à voir là-dessus. Voilà. Donc c'est comme sur l'avion, hein. Vous avez tout ce qui est branchement électrique, tout ce qui est arrivé carburant, avec un groupe de carburant. Voilà. Donc nous avons la cabine de pilotage du point fixe à côté, avec 2 personnes qui viennent exprès pour ça, qui sont lâchées là-dessus et qui viennent contrôler tout le moteur. À l'issue du point fixe, un contrôleur va venir contrôler tout le moteur et le moteur pourra être donné à la flottille. Sachant que là, comme nous avons 24 rafales à bord, il y a pas mal de boulot sur les moteurs.
Every year, thousands of innocent people are killed by hidden landmines. Clearing them is a major priority for governments and humanitarian organisations. At the German Aerospace Centre outside Munich, they're using radar to find potential explosives, and it could dramatically reduce the time it takes to clear them.
Each day, around 10 people lose a limb to an explosive remnant of war. More than 100 million mines are buried across 60 countries, many of them the poorest on the planet. And they also prevent communities from using the land for farming. To meet this challenge, German scientists hope a new method of detecting hidden ordnance could lead to the fast and safe clearance of minefields. Here at the German Aerospace Centre, they're pushing the capability of radar technology further than ever before. This testbed could one day revolutionise the way landmines are detected. The work is being led by Dr. Markus Peichel and his colleagues from the Centre's Microwave and Radar Institute. For their experiments, they use an array of explosive devices. These ones have been made safe, and each represents a different challenge.
A much more challenging task is if you look to the smaller ones, like this one or what you have here and here. And you see that they look very differently, but they are small and mostly they are made purely of plastic. There is only a very small amount of metal inside, which makes it difficult for the metal detector to detect them.
They start off by burying them in a test area under scientific conditions.
We'd bury them in a certain depth in order to see as far as we can detect them, and we put them as well on the surface in order to see the signal without some contamination by the ground. So we play around with that in order to make sure that for each condition we are able to detect the mines, or on the other hand to see under which conditions we don't see the mine.
Soldiers and humanitarian workers rely on conventional methods like metal detectors or sniffer dogs, but these can be slow and dangerous. This unusual-looking vehicle could be about to change all that. It applies the same principles of SAR, or synthetic aperture radar, used in the centre's satellites to scan the test area for suspicious objects.
With that principle, you can move the truck where the radar is mounted on the safe side, and you're looking to the side into the contaminated area, and by that way you can perform this scanning of large areas within a reasonably short time.
With a satellite using SAR, a small antenna mimics the work of a large one by sending microwave signals towards an illuminated spot on the ground from several different points along the satellite's orbit. The captured data is then used to create a high-resolution image. To find the mines, the scientists benefit from the same process. A giant antenna on the side of the truck isn't feasible, so several small ones combine to do the work of a large one. Microwaves can also penetrate the Earth. As the vehicle moves forward, the antennae are directed sideways and downwards. Each object reflects radar signals back with varying intensity. With the help of sophisticated algorithms, the driver processes all the echoes into an intensity map. The idea is to sweep one strip of land before moving on to the next.
You know the safe area, which is already cleaned, or where you for sure know that it was never contaminated by mines. You can scan along this boundary and take the detections there and later on clean off this area. And then you just shift the whole system to the side and perform the same way the second scan of that. This is the first measurement we've made, or?
It's the first measurement.
Which are the anti-tank mines?
I think it's these two ones, because they have the highest amplitude in the image, and as you can see, if I
go to the side view that we see.
Side view, you can see that they are buried in a depth of approximately 15 centimeters.
Okay, which fits well to what we have done there.
And this is the end result, a revealing high-resolution image. For the first time, it's possible to quickly scan large areas for suspicious objects. Although SAR can detect an object, the system will need an additional sensor to establish if it contains explosive material. Still, Dr. Paichol's research has already attracted overseas interest.
I had a phone call from the ambassador of Egypt, and he was asking me if our system already is available, and I had to say no, unfortunately not, because it's just an experimental system. But they have still the problem from Second World War. You know, in Northern Africa, the German and the British troops were fighting against each other. They laid out a lot of landmines there, and they are still left there.
With landmines, poor countries have the problem, but rich countries have the money. And it will be the West's military that will propel this technology forward.
If once you have figured out a company being interested in that and seeing a market in that, and the market by the military guys is much bigger than the one in a humanitarian case, then you can start developing together with this company an operational product which can be used outside in the field. And then, if once such a system is available on the market, the humanitarian community can buy such a system and operate it like that.
Well, that is it from us for now. We hope you enjoyed watching the Military Tech Show. Until next time,